So Dr. Nagwa, are you ready?
Yes, I just turn off the camera to look for my screen and focus on the presentation. Okay, just to start.
Sure. Dr. Martina, you are also ready, right?
Yes.
All right. Few more minutes. Dr. Nagwa?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
But then I think you need to turn on your, turn on your camera so that everybody can see you.
Both camera and video. Okay, camera and mic. Okay.
Right. Because
okay.
as you're a presenter, all our attendees would love to see you while presenting.
Okay.
So, all right. So let me start with the program. Hello, respected professionals, esteemed chief guest of the session, outstanding speaker, and valued attendees. Greetings to you all. Today is Friday, January 14, 2022. On behalf of the ICOM Family Forum, it is an honor to welcome you all to the club seminar virtual research sharing program at the International Virtual Conference on Museums. My name is Martina Lemanova. I'm a member of ICOM Nepal and moderator for the program. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing two intellectual ladies. We have Dr. Martina Lemanova. She is the managing director of ICOM Czech Republic, and she is our today's seminar chief guest, and Dr. Nagwa Bakr from Egypt as our guest speaker. Welcome, Dr. Martina and Dr. Nagwa.
Welcome.
All right. It's great to see you both together.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
All right. So before we start with the program, let me give a short introduction of Dr. Bakr. So she is currently working as community exhibition officer and is responsible for a women program at Ministry of Tourism and Antiques. She holds 2 master's degrees, one in cultural anthropology and one in museum studies. She also holds a PhD in museum studies and heritage. Her study was mainly concerned with women heritage and their representation in museums. She has also been working in museum for the past 19 years. Today, she will be presenting on representing women heritage in Egyptian museums. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Nagwa to deliver the presentation. Dr. Nagwa.
Okay. Thank you all for the introduction and for the invitation, Mr. Muhammad, and thank you for Mrs. Martina to attend my presentation, and for all the group. This is my pleasure to be with you again for the next time, but this time very formal about my topic. I will start directly from the second slide. My topic about women representation in Egyptian museums, and mainly I have different hypotheses for the research and the problem. The main problem for my research is that women heritage and history in Egypt, they have a long history, they have a good presentation and equality in presentation in Egyptian museum, but most of the interpretation methods and most of the Egyptian museum scenario focus on women in just about women as beautiful, women as a queen, women accessories, and women dresses. And they ignore other part of women life and not focus about local women, just about queens and famous women, but other women from the local community and their participation in making the Egyptian civilization. And no topics focus on this in this part about women life in Egypt. And I started to focus about different conventions and through ICOM and through UNESCO that mainly focus about and shed light about women in a museum, like ICOM Charter concerning gender equality and women in museums, especially ICOM for 13 years confirmed women equality and gender as a vital concern in field of museums. And in 2013, conference through ICOM in Brazil shed light on gender equality, diversity, and I think most of you follow this hashtag started 2017 through ICOM in celebrating International Women's Day about the campaign that women in a museum to improve women rules in a museum. However, in Egypt, we don't care about this, just different programs, but not in order or no organized program about representation of women and their role in museums. Also, there is International Association of Women in Museums. It is a network for women in museums around the world, founded in 2008 with several goals like gender perspective is important in promoting culture, art, education, and training, encouraging global cooperation and communication between women in museums. However, as official museums in Egypt, we don't have any link with this network. Only one association, it is like a NGO linking with this network, and the Egyptian museums and the museum sectors in general don't have any link with this association or not care about communicate with this association. However, the first museum in Egypt started early before the official meaning of the museum. That is, the notion of the museum started since the time of Ptolemy time, Greek-Roman time in Egypt, when the king Ptolemy Soter built the first Alexandria museum in 1085 BC. He erected a big temple in Alexandria in the Mediterranean, and this temple included the first museum in the world and the first Moses as a place to represent art, education, and all activity related to the meaning of the museum nowadays. However, most of the people specialists in Egyptology and in a museum in Egypt refer that the idea of a museum in Egypt started since the time of the pharaohs or ancient Egyptian Egypt. As you see in the slide, most of the temples and tombs in ancient Egypt cover with beautiful scenes reflected the daily life of ancient Egyptians. So it is like a museum, but not official meaning of the museum, but it is like a museum because we can read everything about ancient Egyptian life, about their practice for art, about their practice for daily life activity, about everything, even religious and art museum, science and everything from the building of the temple and tombs of the king and royal families, and even for the public, not only for queens and kings. For the unknown contribution of women, Egyptian women in the museum, I depended on a famous book published 2017 in England about the contribution of women in Europe in the museum. So I follow the same sequence of the book that they divide the women as a collector, women as a donors, women as a visitor, women as a museum curators, and women in the field of archaeology in Egypt. The second slide, please. Women as a collectors. It started very early in Egypt. Collecting is not just only antiquities. As we know, some people like to collect stamps, rare objects, plants, animals. So the idea of collecting not just collect antiquities. And the Queen Hatshepsut from the new kingdom in Egypt, in her temples in Dar al-Bahri in Luxor, south of Egypt, she displays details of her trap-to bomb. This is a place in the east coast of Africa. She sent this trap to bring different materials like animals, plants, and various of objects from this area of Africa, and she planted this trees in front of her temple in Dar al-Bahri. So they considered Hatshepsut as the first collectors or a first woman collect rare objects in ancient Egypt and from the history of ancient Egyptian women. Next slide. In the Greek-Roman era, Cleopatra Selene from the Greek Roman time. She is a daughter of Cleopatra VII. She was born in Egypt, then she got married from a king of Numidia. And when she left Egypt and started to live with her husband, she had a nostalgia for her family as she came from a kingship family. She erected a grand gallery in her palace, and she collected all the portraits for her family and display. So this is considered as a type of museum or a small gallery, not just a big museum, but the idea also from a woman from Egypt. Next slide. In Islamic era, we have a queen. She is the second queen in Islamic era. Her name is the Shagar al-Dur from Ayyub dynasty, and she was a wife for a big and very famous king. His name is Salih Nigm al-Din Ayyub, and she ruled Egypt after her death. And historians mentioned in their scripts that after the death of Salih Nigm al-Din Ayyub, her husband, Shagar al-Dur built a big dome or a grave for Salih Nigm al-Din, not only for his body, but she collected some of his belongings like clothes and weapons and other objects, and she displayed inside this grave. So it's considered like a private museum for her husband. So this is the third woman in Egypt started to think about the idea of a museum, not as official museum, but the idea of collecting itself. Not only she erected the dome for her husband, but also she devoted part of her wealth as waqf or like endowment to maintain the place. So maintenance and pay for everything for keeping the place for the future. Then in contemporary era, we have different women and various women. I cannot bring all of them, so I just brought examples. Like Dr. Alaya Hussein, she is a famous woman in anthropology in Egypt. She spent 6 years of her life around different oases in Egypt, travel and collecting the heritage of the 5 oases in the desert of Egypt. And then after she collected all of the heritage, she started to think about set up a museum about the heritage of the oases in Egypt. She asked the Ministry of Antiquities 2002 to rent a house from old place date to Ottoman period, and she paid for the rent, and she made like restoration and collected all of the heritage of the oasis in this big building and called it Heritage Museum for all Egyptian oasis. The idea, she is not only dependent on her private work, she gathered all the women of the oasis to help her to put the interpretation of her museum and to build some elements of the oasis inside the museum that reflect the heritage of the oasis. So the owner of the idea is women, Dr. Alaya, the owner of the idea, and she paid for the restoration, she paid for the rent, she is the owner of collecting the heritage. Then she gathered women from the oasis to help her. So all the women participated in keeping the heritage of their community. Other example, this is some examples of the display in her museum. She kept all the material of from the environment of oasis in the desert. She displayed different dresses, like local dresses for the girls and for the wife. Also other accessories for women in different oasis, oval and the daily life objects. Then women as a donor. The next slide. Egyptian women played a big role in donation for a museum, especially in modern era and contemporary time. Especially the women from the family of Muhammad Ali, princes from the family of Muhammad Ali dynasty. They were the ruler of Egypt during a modern era. They donated not only money, but they donated by their palaces and building to keeping the idea of the museum. For example, the Princess Amina Ilhami, she is the mother of Khidewi Abbas Helmi second, or the king, not king, Khidewi like a king or the ruler. They called her al-Muhsinin, which means the mother of charity. She was the first woman who importantly donated to Islamic Art Museum of Islamic Art in Egypt when they started to erect the museum and collecting the collection for the museum. She donated by money, and she also donated by a unique private collection she owned for the museum to increase the collection and the number of the objects for the Museum of Art, Islamic Art Museum. Another example from the Princess of Muhammad Ali family, the Princess Fatma Ismail. She not donated only for the museum. She is the first woman donated to erect the first university in Egypt, Cairo University, to encourage the community to join the university, and she also encouraged the girls to join the university. She also donated her palace in Do'i. It is a famous place in Egypt, and her palace turned to be the agricultural museum as the first agricultural museum in the East, and had a big collection, and now it is under reconstruction and restoration work. Women as a visitors. Also, there is different examples for the women as donors, but I just collect some examples. Women as a visitors for the museum. Also, we just continue with the Princess Muhammad Ali family, as they play a big impact role in the cultural life in Egypt. They not only donated by money or buildings, they care about visit art exhibitions and the museum galleries. Like Queen Nazli, she was the wife of King Fuad first between 1919 and 1936. She visited art exhibition of Fine Art Lovers Association. And during this time, it is the first feminist movement in Egypt. From 1919 revolution, women joined the cultural life and political life in Egypt. So this helped women to reflect their idea and join not just political life, but they started to join a cultural life and join university and schools and caring about education. Also queens, different queens and from the royal of Muhammad Ali family visited not just exhibition inside Egypt, but they also visited other exhibitions during their joining their husbands outside Egypt in official visiting. They cared about visiting museums outside Egypt, and they brought their vision about museums to apply in Egypt and donate by money to increase the idea of Egyptian museums and their collection. Also, Princess Fawzia visited the International Exhibition of Applied Art, while the great artist Muhammad Khalil, he has a big museum here for fine art, welcomed here, as we can see in the photo. Queen Nazli opened the 9th exhibition of photography. Next slide. Not only royal family caring about visiting museum, also women from local community in Egypt, they were aware about the idea of visiting a museum and join entertainment, like this photo from the left, 1930, a woman visited the Egyptian museum. This photo from the Egyptian museums, all of them. And in 1950, from the customs of the women, they looked like they came up from South Egypt, from Nubia, Aswan, and they looking interestingly for the collection. And also the third one from the left, 1950, also women sitting in the base of beside a big statue in the Egyptian museum. And in the back, we can figure out two girls came from the second floor. That means that women from 1930 and 1950, they cared about visiting a museum and to know the collection. And the last photo for the girl from fine art, our applied art faculty, she is standing in front of a big statue in the Egyptian Museum trying to draw. So women from the 19th century, 18th century, 20th century caring about visiting museums in Egypt. Women as a curators. For the Egyptian museums in general, we started by the Egyptian Museum 1902. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities was under the control of the British colonization till 1950. So after 1950, the Egyptians started to be the chief of the Ministry of Antiquities, and since this time, also women joined the Ministry of Antiquities, and they started their work and their activity inside the museum. And the most famous one, she called Dr. Dia Abu Ghazi, from 1924 to 2001. She was the first generation of women joined the museum, and she played a big part in organizing the Egyptian Museum library. Till now, they depend on the library of the Egyptian Museum in her organization and her catalog. And then she was the first manager for the first woman as a manager for the Egyptian Museum, only for 6 months. But this was a big step for women to be a manager for the museum. The idea that Dr. Dia Abu Ghazi, she came from a famous family. Her father was the Minister of Culture, and her grandsons now, they were minister for also of the Ministry of Culture, and they have a very good positions in cultural life in Egypt. So she came from a family caring about culture in Egypt. The photo in this slide about the first generations for women as a creators in a museum from 1960 till 2001. The first photo from left in the top, she is the first woman as the manager for the museum in regional museum in south of Egypt, and this is a big step for women in south because as I mentioned in the last session, informal talk about it, it is not easy for women in South to go for education and to join cultural life, especially last century. So to find women be a manager for a museum in Luxor Museum, it is a very big advantage for women. The second photo, or in the left, in the bottom, the first generations for the group of women during 1970 as a creator in the Egyptian Museum. The first photo on the top from the right, she is the first volunteer as a woman working as a volunteer in the Egyptian Museum. She is not Egyptian, she is from Lebanon. And she came to study in the American University. Her name is Maya Tirad. She passed 2 years ago, and she worked as a volunteer for more than 40 years in the Egyptian Museum. She was a unique woman and knows many languages. So she helped the museum curators and manager to understand, because all the catalog general and the catalog for the Egyptian Museum wrote by the colonization time, and during the colonization time by French and by English. So this woman helped creators in the museum to understand the registration of the Egyptian Museum. The last photo in black for the first woman as a manager for the Islamic Art Museum. Unfortunately, not all the people in Egypt, even the people who are working in a museum nowadays for the new generation, know anything about these women, just like very quick information, but about their participation, about their effort, and as the first generation for have a good impact for the Egyptian Museum as a woman, no one caring about, and even for the Ministry of Antiquities, they not care about even to display them in private display or present a temporary exhibition about these women and their participation and their impact of the museum life in Egypt. Also, women in the field of archaeology, as most of you know, that Egyptian museums are rich by their discovery. We don't have loan in our museum. We don't purchase or buy antiquities. We are very rich in our excavation. So most of the Egyptian museum, all of the Egyptian museums depend on the collection from our excavation. And the participation of women in excavation life or archaeology life started from 19th century. Women as non-professional, they started to work as a worker to carry sand in the field of archaeology. And this is the oldest photo for Battery. He is a British archaeologist, came to Egypt in the the end of the 19th century to digging in different places of Egyptian land. And he documented in his daily diaries that women, and this documents in the Battery Museum in London, he referred in this document that women participated in the archaeology life, but they covered themselves as a man because it wasn't easy for women during this time to go to work in excavation. So the first woman came to work and join excavation in Egypt. They are covered under clothes of men to participate archaeology life. Other photo, but this not covered as a man. They are clearly women. Women from north of Egypt joined exhibition life. Sorry, archaeology life as a worker. They carry sand, they prepare food and drinks for the exhibition, for the team of the archaeology in Egypt. The next slide. Women as a professional. So women as non-professional started before as a woman as a professional in the field of archaeology. One of the most famous women as a professional in archaeology and Egyptology in Egypt. She passed away 3 years ago. Her name is Dr. Tahfa Handousa. I was lucky. She was my teacher during the university life. She is specialisted in the field of antiquities and archaeology, and she had many excavations field, and she was a teacher in the Cairo University, and she also was a member in several scientific committees. However, just about life of Dr. Tahfa Handousa, just documented through books or scientific articles, but for the public or the visitors of the museum, no, the audience don't have idea about the participation of women as a professional and non-professional. So only people who are specialists in the field of archaeology know about this, the participation of these women. But for the public or the audience of the local community or for the visitors from outside Egypt, they don't have any idea about the participation of these women. In the field of the Islamic art, of the field of Islamic archaeology, we have Dr. Suad Maher. Again, a woman coming from south of Egypt, because Suad Maher coming from Aswan. This is the last city in Egypt, the last city in Egypt in south. And as I mentioned before, that it is not easy for women to come from south and join university and education. Suad Maher was one of these women. He came and joined the first department for Islamic art and antiquities in Cairo University. And she was the first woman to get her PhD in Islamic archaeology in 1954. She was supervisor for several exhibitions in Egypt. She passed away. She has many publications and many articles about Islamic art, about her excavations. However, just the people who are working in the field know about the participation of Suad Maher, know the audience or public visitors for the museum. Even Museum of us, Islamic Art Museum, doesn't care about to present anything about her life and her participation for the museum collection and excavation. Women in Museum in Egypt. This is part of my research also. We don't have a women in museum in Egypt, unfortunately. We have a very long history for women, started from the prehistoric time as a motherhood society in Egypt, and during the ancient Egyptian civilizations, many queens and rulers for Egypt as a woman. Also, we know Hatshepsut and Cleopatra as a famous, but other women played a great role in Egyptian civilizations through the history, Greek-Roman history. And Coptic time, women played a great role in normal life, not just as a mother or just a local woman. They also participated in fighting to keeping the idea of Coptic religion. Women in Islamic life also, or Islamic time, they played a great role, not only Shagar al-Dur, as I mentioned in my slide, but also other women caring about building schools and encouraging students to join the schools. They care about poor, they care about animals in the street, they also care about art, and they paid from their money to make different art collection for the palaces, and they participated in political life. However, we still caring about focusing about only famous women in Egypt, but about local women and their participation, no one caring. Even we have historians who wrote about these women. We have references and many historical research about the participation of women in different fields of life during the history or through the history. But for the museum curators or the museum collections, they are not care about to shed light on these several rules. Unfortunately, we don't have any history museum about Egyptian women and their participation. Even for the women in modern life, as we started our feminist movement during 18th century, early in 20th century, we only have one museum about very famous person called Kulthum. She is a famous singer, and this is the only women museum in Egypt. She is an artist born in December 1898 in Egyptian village. She came from village, but from north, not from south. She was a singer and songwriter and a film actor. She presented a lot of things for the Egyptian life, not only through the art life, but also for political life. She influenced not only Egyptian life in art, but also for Arab world. We called it Kawkab al-Shar. As a famous person, not only in Egypt, but all Arab countries know Kulthum and joined her concerts in the past. And still till now, we have a concert every day as nostalgia for Kulthum in Egyptian TV. And her museum established in 1990, next slide, in 1998, under the supervisor of the Ministry of Culture. They started to collect her collection as a private collection belonging to her life, and they really played a great role to collect this collection and display. And this is the location for the museum, Kulthum Museum. It is located in island in the River Nile. The museum divided to different halls. The next slide, like cinema hall, and it display like a short documentary about and movie about Kulthum life since she was a young girl in the village till became a very famous person in Egypt and Arab world. Audiovisual library hall, and it consists of 5 computers that displaying her songs and pictures. Then the panorama hall, it displays about 10 minutes panorama of Kulthum photos through various stages of her life with her colleagues, in addition to her photos with artistic singers and combined by music and famous artists like different artists, not just from Egypt, who wrote for her or present music for her songs, not only from Egypt, but from Arab world. The next slide. Some collections from her museum, like shoes, bags, dresses, famous dresses that she wore during her concerts, glass, and this is about Kulthum only because, as I mentioned, this is the last slide. As I mentioned, that we don't have museums for women in Egypt, and this is what I recommended in my thesis at the end, that women in Egypt played a great role for the museum history as a collector, as a donors, as a visitors, and they have a big different collections that started from the prehistory time in Egypt till modern era. But unfortunately, museum not focus about different roles that women playing during the history. They only focus about famous persons, about the queens, about ruler family, but about the participation of local women and their effort in life. They don't care about focus about this in the museum. So I recommended to build or set up or take steps toward set up a museum about Egyptian women, the history of Egyptian women, or at least started to organize different temporary exhibitions about history of women or Egyptian women and their heritage inside the museum, depending on different periods of Egyptian history. That's like speed view about my thesis, and I'm ready about any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your presentation. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Martina Lemanova for her kind thoughts. What do you think about the presentation?
So thank you very much for inviting, and thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I have to say that I learned a lot, and I hope that also the other participants of this meeting can say the same. Sometimes I was really very surprised because I didn't know that there was also people among the highest levels of the Ministry of Culture at the Egypt. So, and I prepared some questions for you, Mrs. Bakr, and some of them are already answered with your presentation. And there were very easy questions like, are there any women among the directors of the museum? So unfortunately, if I understand it well, so nowadays they are not.
Now, no, most of we have many, most of the museum sectors now, women who head the museum and who directed the different activity and educational program. But we still, most of the women is still thinking from not feminist approach. They still thinking or follow the old vision for the museum. As you know, in the last century, most of the people who power the museum were men. So they organized the scenario of the museum depend on their vision for women in society, not just in Egypt. I read many articles about women about museums around Europe. And the vision for the museum was from the vision of men, not from women for their life. However, women started to be managers for the museum. Most of the museum managers now are women in Egypt, but not even women, not care about how to present their history in Egyptian museum. Also, they are the supervisor, they are the controlling, but they still thinking from the vision of men, not from the vision of women.
And thank you for this clarification. And I also had a question about the ICOM of Egypt. If you are familiar with the participation of women among the members of ICOM and also among the members of board of ICOM Egypt.
I think no, because we have 3 women with the ICOM member ICOM of Egypt. We activated because we stopped for 2 years as Egyptian committee of ICOM, and they started last week their first meeting. And as I know, they joined with the 3 women. They are joined the membership.
Yeah. So
I can reply on the question Martina asked Nagwa. I think that after the first meeting of ICOM Egypt, we have received a letter from General ICOM, from ICOM International, that we have made the great opportunity for women. We have 5 women in the new ICOM board of Egypt, and we are making it as equal as men. We have 6 men and 5 women, so we are equal now. the best board that can do it in all over ICOM regional committees. Thank you.
Yeah,
Congratulations, Nuran.
Thank you, Nagwa.
Congratulations. Yeah. And I also wanted to add some information, if I may, about the because I prepared also some information about how in Czech Republic we see the situation of Egypt. So if I may, I will share a photo. I hope you see it. It's a photo of Princess Sheretnebe with her son, and it's a photo from the exhibition which was called The Kings of Sun. And this exhibition was organized in the National Museum in Czech Republic in Prague, in collaboration with the National Museum of Egypt. And this exhibition was opened last year. It was really well visited. It was a wonderful one. And we learned there a lot also about the Egyptian women. And I have to tell you some details about the Czech Egyptology. It's really very old part of the Czech and even Czechoslovakian and before Austrian-Ungarn scientific fields of research and as well as museology. There were many very famous men names among the researchers and scientists of the from this field. And it was Czechoslovakia, and now it's Czech Republic. We've got a huge research area in Abusir since 60s of the 20th century. And that's true. In past, there were many men among the leaders, but now the group of Czech specialists in Egyptology is really like half and half, men and women, and they are among them. There are also very powerful scientists among the women. What I would like to tell is the interpretation of women at this exhibition, because as Mrs. Bakr mentioned, so women in the exhibitions of Egyptian art are usually like pressures, they are admired, but nothing behind this. This was something that the exhibition in Czech Republic had some also some different view on this topic, and I would like to share another photo. Yeah. I hope please I will now share another photo, this one. Yeah, and I hope that you see the picture of like the stylized but Egyptian woman and a young man. And this is a print screen from a video which was done in 80s, and 1980 there was also very huge exhibition about Egyptology in Czechoslovakia at that time, in Prague, and very important part of the exhibition was tomb of the Princess Sheretnebe, and at that time in 1976 her tomb was excavated, and in Czechoslovakia it was absolutely sensation. The interpretation of her life, what she did, etc., etc. And even the Czechoslovakian television prepared a short film which should introduce to the population in Czechoslovakia the Egyptian culture, and also the position of women in the old or ancient Egypt. And this was really wonderful because they built it as a dialogue of the princess and the young contemporary contemporary at that time reporter. And on the top of that, the man who played the journalist, so he belonged at the time among the most famous actors in Czechoslovakia, and he was also supposed to be one of the most beautiful men at that time in Czechoslovakia. And he had a wonderful dialogue with the princess, and it's a really very equal dialogue. She is there presented as a very powerful woman, not only with the political power, but also with the social power, with really the power we are now connecting in the 21st century with the woman. And she is speaking with him really from a very, very strong position. And it could give to the at the time Czechoslovakia, but last year on the exhibition, the video was presented there as well. Again, so it could give in our society the feeling that the positions of women are really very strong, and it is. And I would like to conclude on what Dr. Bakr tell that there are sometimes problems with the interpretation of the pieces of art that women in the museums exhibitions are only admired, but this was the way how to give them life and how to give them the powerful position that can also inspire another women that visit the museums. Yeah, so I will stop sharing the photo. So this is what I also wanted to add, the interpretation of women from Egypt in Czech Republic or in past in Czechoslovakia. And speaking about this exhibition, Kings of the Sun, so this film, the dialogue with the journalist and the queen was repeated also last year on the exhibition because the Czech specialists for Egyptology, they excavated in Abu Sir another tomb, and it was a daughter of this princess Sherebneti, and they asked the Czech TV again to make another video, and the Czech TV did it again, and the dialogue was done with contemporary journalist who is really wonderful. He is really great, and this was even better than the video from the 80s because there you absolutely couldn't feel any difference who is man, who is woman. It was absolutely equal. There couldn't be, there wasn't any discussion about whose position is which. So they were absolutely equal. No one was higher, no one was lower. Before in 80s, so the position of the princess was a little bit higher than the journalist, and it was like we are pushing the discussion about women because we would like to support them very much, but now the interpretation is we don't need to discuss the position of women because it's the same. So it was the interpretation. I hope that this will be also possible to speak about this in Egypt, because we can see that as Mrs. Khaled informed us, the position, at least in ICOM Egypt, is the same. Like there is the same number of women in the board and the same number of men. So this was my addition to the discussion. Sorry for such a long speech. But I really wanted to tell it, and I would like to ask. So that's all. If you have some question, you can ask. But I would like to ask Mrs. Bakr, in her wonderful research, did you find some like signs or information that there exist in the Egypt the things which is called the glass ceiling for the women to step up in some positions in museums or something like this?
About women in museums. Yeah, many information. I wanted to add something about the interpretation. To be fair, in my research, not only the interpretation, like shortage in the information about women life and their participation. I think all the interpretation for the Egyptian museum need to reinterpret again. Egyptian museum were under colonization for a long time. And most of the display depend on the old vision for the ancient Egyptian history that divided in hierarchy and focus only about kings and the queens. So not only the history of women need to reinterpret in the Egyptian museum, I think also men and local community in common. To be fair, in my work, not only women, also men and other all the local community need to be more focused in the museum to reinterpret it again, to shed light in different rules for all the community, not only for the kings and for queens or royal life. And for the Egyptian women, 2017, the president of the Republic of Egypt launched the Egyptian Women Year. And since this time, the new generation who are working in cultural life and museums in Egypt, especially from women, the new generation and the young generation, also who are joining the programs for museum studies in university as the new branch to study museums and the meaning of museum studies in Egypt, they started to care about women's positions and women participation in the museums of Egypt. And we are not only focused about women as a collection in Egyptian museums last 5 years. We started to launch different programs about programs and activity and art exhibitions that linking between women in a museum and their issue outside the museum, and how the exhibition inside the museum reflected women issues and different women problems and women movements in the Egyptian society. Women in Egyptian society achieved a good steps in different fields, not only in art or cultural life. In different fields of Egyptian life, women now in Egypt have a good positions, and we have a very nice page. It's called Women in Egypt, Women of Egypt. So every day they publish about the achievements and the successful women as good examples, not only a famous woman, but women from different places, cities in Egypt, and their achievements in different fields. Women through history, yes, especially from modern and contemporary era, many information documented through research and scientific articles about their participation in art life and cultural life. But what we need in the future, how to represent this participation through exhibitions, not only collections, at least through photography exhibitions, documents, and art exhibitions, how to represent the participation of women through history for the society. That's all.
Right. Dr. Martina, did you receive the answer for your question?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Completely. I have one question. One more question. There was the very important information from my point of view about the Aliyah Hussein, the founder of the museum you presented. What is the situation of the museum now? How does the museum work? Because she is not alive anymore,
yes,
or is she still? No, she died. Yeah.
Yes, she passed, and this is what I discussed also in my research, that like this, we don't have the idea of a private museum in Egypt. Only most of the museums under the supervisor of Ministry of Antiquities and Ministry of Culture. So we started to encourage the idea, we started to speak or discuss as a new generation to encourage about the idea of a private museum. Aliyah Hussein and other people from south of Egypt, they turn a part of their houses to be like a museum. They are caring about collect art, or they are artists and they have their own collection. So what about the future of this museum? Because no fundraising and no supervision from a governmental sector. What I know that Aliyah Hussein, she passed away, and her husband, I met her husband 2 years ago during the field work, and also he passed away with the Alzheimer. And I don't know really about the position of the museum now. I plan to visit next April to see the position. What I know that they like set up like association, different association for the ethnographic museum from her students to keep the idea of the museum. But I don't know what is the position after the passed away of her husband now. And the location of the museum in Islamic art, in Islamic city dated to Ottoman period, and this city under the supervision of the Ministry of Antiquities. So I don't know what is the vital role that the Ministry of Antiquities can play for keeping the preservation and maintenance of the museum, especially the building itself from the natural material of the desert. So I think it needs to restoration every year, because the building material from the dust and from the sand of the desert as a local material, and the collection, most of the collection also organic material like dresses and collection and items of the kitchen. And no restoration department for the museum. It is like collecting and preserving and display, but what is the future of this museum? This is what I put as a question in my research, because really we need a step to do something to keep it, because this is the only ethnographic museum collected by women. We have ethnography museum in Cairo, but under supervision of governmental sector, also needed for some maintenance and preservation. But what about the steps of people who take steps to set up their own collection and to present their private museum in the future? What is the role of the Egyptian government to support like this kind of a museum in Egypt? I promise I will visit, and I can send an email after my visit for the museum to know what is the position, the new position after the passed away of the two owners of it.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. It will be nice if you could actually share the information with all of us. That will be like really good. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any more questions, Dr. Martina?
Last question, and it was maybe already also answered, because I wanted to ask about the future of the museum. What is Mrs. Bakr thinking about the future situation, how it's going to be developed in the field of her research? So maybe if you can shortly answer this one. Because you described what happened, what is the situation now, and your vision about the future situation.
I think for the future situation for the museums, especially to encourage people to set up their private museum, it is not easy for the governmental sector to supervise all of these museums. Not easy to find fundraising and money, and the Egyptian heritage is very big to make all of this for one sector. So I think the next step, especially yesterday, the president launching this year as the year of NGOs, the role of non-governmental sector in the society, of the Egyptian society. So I think for like businessmen and the different NGOs in the society started to set up association to support like this kind of museums, not only put this part or make this part as a responsibility for the governmental sector in Egypt. It is a big step for them, or a big hard work for them, especially we have many museums. So the new step, we should start to think about the role of NGOs in the society to support like the future of this museum, and to set NGOs not just to help poor, or because this is most of the NGOs in Egypt working with poor and working with support like hospitals, poor people, children in the street. We have to start to think about NGOs to support for art and cultural life. So maybe this is the next step for the future, to set up NGOs to support cultural life in Egypt, and to support like this type of a museum and the future of the private museums in Egypt. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer. Yeah. Great,
All right.
great. And it's good to hear that there is a really support of NGOs, because it's not very common. There are always problems with this sector of societies, and we know that many countries in the world, mainly those who are tending to kind of a totalitarian regime, they've got problems with this. So speaking about this is very good to hear. And it really, I wish you, in fact, to have no other work in this field. Definitely there will be, unfortunately, but I wish you not to have one. And I hope that it will be possible for you and for all of the colleagues to come to Prague, because as you see on my screen, so speaking about the some situations of women, it's always connected with the discussion about the power of women, and the topic of the ICOM General Conference in Prague is the power of museums. And on the top of that, it's not only the topic of the ICOM General Conference in Prague, but it's also power of museum is also topic for the International Museum Day. So it means, in fact, it's a topic for the museums all over the world for a whole year. And I will be really very happy if all of us will speak about the many powers the museums have. And one of them is to empower women to have a better position in their lives, in their work. And to like incorporate women all over the world into the museum sector, and inspire them to be able to prepare wonderful projects, wonderful exhibition projects from their point of view. So thank you very much for this wonderful discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Martina. Thank you for the information about the exhibition about Sons of God. Because I followed the opening of the exhibition last year in Prague. Also, I was lucky because I met the team of the exhibition in Abu Sir in Egyptian Museum. They came to work in the items that discovered by the exhibition team in 2001, 2002, 2003. The team came to working in the deposit of the Egyptian Museum. I was working with them during this time. So it was amazing to meet you as a part of the exhibition. Thank you for the information and for everything.
All right. So, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nagwa, as well as Dr. Martina, for your informations and, all those pictures that you have shared, and lots of information related to Egypt. So it was very, very informative. With this, we have now come to the question and answer session. So what I would like to do is that since there are like 13 of us, so it would be nice if all our attendees could actually send their questions through a chat box, because that will, have lower pressure here. Before going through the session, let me just introduce most of our attendees in a shorter form. So we have, all right. So we have Osma Bhatti. She is from, she's an artist and she is from Pakistan and belongs to ICOM Pakistan. We have Shabnam. So she is an artist from Cyprus. Previously, she was from Pakistan. We have Aditya Banerjee. So he is an archaeologist from India and belongs to ICOM India. We have Eleonora Vitroni Orgias. She is an artist as well as conservator from Italy. We have Mohammed Adhar. All right. So she is assistant curator in National Museum in New Delhi, India, and she's part of ICOM India. We have Samra Chima. She is an artist from Pakistan. Then we actually had a new member. Inas Karim. So
yeah,
I think she
Inas
left
from
us.
Egypt.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Inas of, oh.
All right. So next we have the professionals. So we have Buma Ma'am. So she is from Mongolia, and she's the president of ICOM Mongolia. We have Dr. Dhan Kumar, so he is from Nepal. He's the chairman of National Ethnographic Museum of Nepal. He's the vice president of ICOM Nepal. Then we have, last but not the least, Javed sir. So Muhammad Akhtar Javed sir, he is from Pakistan. He belongs to ICOM Pakistan and also a board member of ICOM Expats. So with this, I would like to open the panel for all our attendees to interact with Nagwa ma'am. But then it would be nice if you could actually send us your queries or any questions, through chat. I have one question from Aditya that I would like to take first. So Aditya, he's asking to Dr. Nagwa that can you tell me about the famous Tanora dance?
Yes.
That right? Tanora dance,
Yeah.
and about the involvement of women as it's a Sufi dance. So does Egyptian Sufi community allow women to perform like the Turkish people?
I will answer from my practical life because I attended many dance tanura in Egypt, but I haven't seen any women participated in the dance before. Yes, I saw many pictures and many concerts for Turkish women participated and joined Sufi life in Egypt and in Turkey and their dance. But in Egypt, all the team dance in the tanura men. I haven't seen a woman before dancing in tanura.
I hope Aditya received his answer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next, I would like to invite Dr. Dhan to interact with Nagwa ma'am, like how he thought of, how he felt about the presentation, and if he has any recommendations or anything for her. Dr. Dhan, welcome.
Thank you, Mina. Very nice presentation by Nagwa. Last time also she presented very nice. That was also very nice and interesting. Today also very in detail and very much informative. So today also is very nice presentation. Actually, we learned many things about the Egypt from the ancient time to this period up to this time. So anyway, our presentation was anyway very nice. But I am very much curious to know about what time or when was the first archaeological inscription or any historic document from Egypt. Just that is my query only. Just oldest. Just when was started the actually inscription or historical document like that. So anyway, and just I want to. So she has presented very nice, and Martina also presented very nicely. I have a briefing about. He asked many questions about Egypt, and we came to know many things about the ICOM and Egypt, about the Egypt also. So it was very interesting. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Okay, thank you. You asking about the old documents about excavations in Egypt?
The oldest
inscription, yeah. written document, oldest written.
Yes. It is very difficult question to answer because the history of digging in Egypt not started officially, as we know. Looting for the antiquities of Egypt started from long history. As organized exhibitions, I don't really when it started, maybe from 18th century or before. But for documents we have in Egyptian museum, like in the tours of the Egyptian museums, about different exhibition in Egypt, excavations. Life started in Egypt as official. That different foreigners, university came from outside Egypt to digging in Egyptian land. And when started exactly, I don't know really, but we have many archives, documents in Egyptian museum about the history of the excavation in Egypt. But the excavation itself or digging in Egypt started as non-professional, because looting and before the French colonization in Egypt, and after they came to Egypt, they started to know about the big building and temples. As you know, Egyptians, French colonization came to Egypt in 1798, I think so. And they wrote a big sections and about big books about Egyptian life, and they documented everything about Egyptian life. And when they returned to France, most of European countries started to read and to know about the Egyptian antiquities, and they started to came and digging and thinking about Egyptian history. But officially, and the documents, I don't know really when it exactly started.
Thank you, Dr. Nagwa.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think, right. I think I can invite Noran or Dr. Martina if they have any thoughts about this. No, right. Okay. Yes, Dr. Thal?
In the history of world, the oldest history is from Egypt and Rome, I think so, Italy. So Egypt is very important for Asian people also. But that was the center and old civilization of the world, ancient time. So when I saw in London a sculpture and a image which was nearly 3200 BC. Exactly right now I don't remember that I have in my laptop, but now I did not see that one. That was nearly 3200 BC. There is a big image of a man, a king, maybe king or something like that, and other with the animal that I have seen over there. So I think that is a very old development or artists, everything was very famous in ancient time. So just when was it started to write in Egypt? Just I was asking like that. Thank you very much anyway.
Right. Thank you, Dr.
Started to write? Your question about when they started to write in Egypt?
It's more about the, yes, Dr.
Yes.
3200, yes, BC. That is written in London Museum.
Just I need more clarification about the question. Clarify the question, because I
just wanted to know only. No clarification. That's enough. But
okay.
when was it started written history in Egypt? Just I was asking, like archaeologically, like inscription. Just when was started from in Egypt? Just
Let me rephrase the question, sir. Dr. Nagwa. So he's asking when the date when the the written document started to come out. Like, do you have any reference to any date?
About
oldest date.
Okay, about the history of writing in Egypt, yes?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it is a long history, maybe 4500 BC. We started writing in, yes, early prehistory time in Egypt with Neolithic life. We found the different shards of pottery and tiny ebony and bone with the first letters of hieroglyphic written language, not language, it is written letters of hieroglyphic. See, we started very early in writing in Egypt and documents, but by the time it developed, then it divided to different category of letters, not hieroglyphic. We have hieroglyphic, Domatic, and Coptic, then ended by Coptic, then Arab came to Egypt, so Coptic just became for church and started to spread Arab language, as the ruler of Egypt during this time were Arab people, so most of the people started to speak Arab in Egypt. However, when Ptolemy and Greek Roman command come to Egypt, and Parisian and different people come to rule Egypt for a long time, the Egyptians keep their tongue. They didn't change to speak and keep their own tongue. The only change in Egyptian tongue started with Arab when came and ruled Egypt.
All right.
So we started 4000 to 500 BC.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dan, for your question. Now I would like to invite Dr. Buma, if she has any question for you.
Okay. I want to ask, do you have any system or training for young staff, men, girl, and boy, for museum? Because new museum staff starting to work at museum as archaeologist, historian, many different graduated university, and how you train them in museology in the museum, because this is very difficult to train them in museum studies.
Yes.
Maybe you have
yes,
at museum some system or training module or something.
Okay, I got your question. Let me say that especially last 20 years, we have many training for the new generations. I mentioned before in the last session that I worked in a museum field by experience. I got the experience from the old generation. That 2015 we started to launch the first course for the museum study in University of Helwan in Egypt. So most of us try to join this program to improve our knowledge about the meaning of a museum, because we're working just from the view of antiquities, not from the view of a museum and the museum studies. Since 2015, the first generation who joined the first course after our graduation, as we are working as a team in the Ministry of Antiquities, we started to launch different courses to teach our colleagues. So the new generation taught the generation later, and now we have many people who are trained through the courses in the university and through the Ministry of Antiquities. And also we have different cooperation with the museums outside Egypt to allow people from Egypt to travel and to get their experience about the museums, not just inside, but outside. Me and my colleagues, as my personal experience, I traveled to join the most important training in the British Museum 2019 as ITB, International Training Program for people who are working in a museum around the world. And this program launched from Egypt, that Dr. Zahi Hawass, the head of the Ministry of Antiquities, 2001. He spoke with the British Museum to set like this training to train all the staff of the people who are working in the museum in Egypt and give them the chance to travel outside Egypt and to get a new vision about the museum and about the work in the museum. So we divided between courses inside Egypt and other courses outside Egypt. Also, for the new stuff in the new museums, like National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, that museum has mummy now that is transported from the Egyptian museum to the new museum. For more than 15 years, we got different, as I was member in the museum before, we got many trainings under supervision of UNESCO. They offered us many training inside Egypt and outside Egypt. I got the chance to travel and train through Torino Museum under supervision of UNESCO, and my colleagues traveled to other museums outside Egypt. So the idea that we have inside courses and outside courses to train our colleagues and the different new generation in different fields of the museum.
Thank you. Because I think training of young people is very important at museum.
Yes, especially for Egyptian, as all of the collection in Torino Museum came from Egypt. It's the second big collection for Egyptian antiquities in the world in Torino. We have the biggest Egyptian museum in Egypt, then the next museum or the second museum in Torino.
Okay.
So it is a good
Okay.
chance for any staff in Egypt to travel to Torino and get their trained there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Welcome.
Buma ma'am. Now I would like to take a question from Shabnam. So she is asking, do you think that the role of museums is limited for the uneducated woman, or it can powerfully influence them to step for themselves? Let me repeat the question. Do you think that the role of museums is limited for the uneducated woman, or it can powerfully influence them to step for themselves? So before you answer the question, I would request to all the attendees that if you have any questions, please send them to us through the chat box. That will be much more easier. Thank you so much. Please, Dr. Nagwa.
Yes, museum not only for educated women. This is what we are seeking for now in Egypt. I mentioned before that before 2010, we used to set up different September exhibition and invite each other as a colleagues from different museums for attending the opening and discuss the issue between us as a creators. But we started to open for the community, not only educated women. As in my field work, in my master's degree, I met uneducated women who are keeping the heritage through their own daily life without they are know that they are keeping their heritage. Some of them are aware, but some of them not aware that they are playing a vital role in keeping a heritage. So the system or we are planning now to engage all of these women, not just educated or intellectual women, to come to museum and to present their experience or express their successful life, but also for these women. And this is what started with the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization as a new museum opened for the public and got a very new collection and the new interpretation for the idea of antiquities of Egypt. They organize every month 2 workshops. They invite women, all women, not only intellectual women. So these women present their heritage through different workshops, and they let these women to interact with the audience. So I think this is a good step for the museum to engage all type of women, not just focus about famous or intellectual or educated, because other women should have their opportunity to join cultural life and to express themselves inside the museum life.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagwa. Hello, Sabna ma'am. I hope Dr. Nagwa was able to answer your question.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Let me go with more with the introduction, as we have some few more participants here. So we have Shivani Banerjee. She is from India. She is related with the museology itself, and she belongs to ICOM India. We have Dr. Ujjwal Brian Saha. So he is also from India, and he is by profession orthopedic surgeon. Whereas he is also into numismatic research since a long time. Then we have, sorry, the pronunciation is a little bit awkward for me. If I pronounce it wrong, please help me correct it. Inknaran Sundev. So the nickname is Nara, and she is from Mongolia. So yeah, with this, I would like to take one more question. That is from Shivani. So she is saying hi to Dr. Nagwa, that the presentation was beautiful and she loved it. So the curiosity is, can you tell about Cleopatra and Mark Antony, because we get to hear about Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, but less of Mark Antony, and is there portrayal of them or statues?
This is very difficult question for me because I'm not really specialist in this period, in the history of this period. We are as a category of our study or a classification of the study, I am specialist in ancient Egyptian civilization. once we stop the ancient Egyptian civilization, we have other sections in the university. So as the history of Greek-Roman and the end of Cleopatra and this struggle with Rome once they came to be under, that Egypt became under the control of Rome, and the end of the life of Cleopatra. What I know only from the stories and novels and the TV, but accurate information from the written history, really, I don't have idea. I'm so sorry, but I can ask my colleagues who are specialists, and I can send my answers through the messenger or the group.
Sure, ma'am. If you have the answers, then yeah, if you share that in the group, all of us would be able to receive it. Sorry for this, Shivani.
Dr. Lama, thank you. Like if I can take here from Nagwa, thank you for like giving me a platform to interact as well.
Sure.
And like attempting to answer Dr. Banerjee's question. Yes, definitely. I'm into the field of numismatics, and like I've been into the core research on numismatics since 2003, long time now. And I'm associated with the British Museum and the University of Oxford in Ashmolean as a guest lecturer over there. So like, yes, there had been like 3 attempts by Cleopatra to issue coinage when I'm talking about numismatics, and they definitely give a profounding image. When she tried to produce coinage, which was not existent with Egypt until the advent of the Roman Empire, and they had taken up subjugation. Now, the first attempt was Cleopatra had a legal son by Julius Caesar, Ptolemaeus Caesar, and she had issued coins which was not approved with the Roman Senate. Second, like her second attempt to mint such coins was with the conjunction with Julius Caesar himself, and very shortly after that, like we all know that like he was assassinated, and but like it was Mark Antony like who had been antagonistic to this plan. And she had issued coins with one on the obverse with her image and Mark Antony's image on the other side. So this is definitely a living piece of history, as numismatic tells, like brings the proof of history. So unfortunately I don't have in my gallery those 3 pieces, but like anytime like required, I would be very happy to send, or I can send to Dr. Nagwa Bakr, and she can send across. Like they are in the collection of the British Museum as well. I have the images somewhere, and I'll be shortly sharing with her.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bujal. Thank you so much. This is really interesting because, I was not expecting answers from our attendees. Thank you so much. All right. So it seems like we don't have any questions from our attendees in our chat box. So, I would like to ask, I would like to request Javed sir for the final questions.
Yeah, but can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I must thank you, Dr. Martina Lemanova, and she is always very kind, nice, and accepting the challenges as we are also facing the challenges. So she also accepts on our behalf little bit of the pressure. So, but her presence here is a sign that we are going on the right path. We are not on a wrong path. So when we are on wrong path, the seniors will not appreciate us. So this is kind of appreciation she gives us when she joined us here. So I'm very thankful to her, and I can be the highest well-wisher for her to see, because she has supported a lot. She has supported. Very few people did that, but in very few people you see to also this youth is included, you see. I believe that Czechs gives a woman equal rights, you see. So we are also struggling for that. We are also struggling. And Egypt, you see, Egypt has a Cleopatra woman ruling on them. And then she also given us a first archaeologist was a woman in Egypt. So that she started from beginning, and at the end, Kulthum. I know Kulthum. She was you see, she was has a voice of wonder. You see, but if I remember President Nasser, Jamal Nasser, he used to call her every night to listen her. You see,
Yeah.
so this, yeah. So this is the research I feel that Nagwa has done on to obtain her PhD, and she obtained it. You see, because the research was powerful, so she obtained it. So congratulations, Nagwa, on that. And also to see, we Pakistani, we have a very small history. You see, we have liberated in 47, and then now it's 2020. So our founders, there were several women in founding of Pakistan. So after that, then literally the election was fought by Fatma Jinnah, who was the sister of founder Quaid-e-Azam as a leader, founder leader. So then later we have a Prime Minister, Benazir Bhutto. Everybody knows that Benazir Bhutto because she was very beautiful, you see. She was very beautiful like Martina and like Nagwa and like many other women. And she was very intelligent too. So this is the same quality I found in Martina. So she is very intelligent and intellectual. Look at her questions. You see, the questions are full of knowledge. You see, they wanted to extract from you something out of it. So the financial condition, okay, you have discussed that there is a funding problems in Egypt. That is everywhere. So the funding problem, it is in USA too, because the USA, they are not releasing funds to museums. So museums are reducing their staff. So this is everywhere. There's a funding problem. But we are the question is that we are doing best in our resources. And also the lot we have in our leadership, you see, that is very important. The one that was a funny program, but it was true, little bit close to it, that one moderator asked in an interview to education minister that why is education not priority in our country? He said, well, I make your question. I said, okay. So how much people are illiterate in our country? He says 87%. I said, okay, so how much literate person, educated person are in our country? He said 17 point something. So he said, look, who should be given a priority? The 87%. Since we are working on a democracy. So we have to give the priority to uneducated lot, you see. So why should we are trying to get some education, get some education things from 17% to give it to the 87%. You see. So this is a leadership which thinks a little bit different. You see, they said, okay, so there are more literary person. So how much we can spend money on them? You see, that's much. So let's go and a low priority with that. So similarly, museums are low priority and everywhere. I can tell you, in everywhere. You name a country and I will tell you that the museum people are claiming that they have been given a less fund to work on it. So these are the situations where everyone has to work. You see, we have to work what we have the capacity to do that. We cannot do beyond that capacity. Yes, woman. Yes, woman. You see, what is happening that the population of women is increasing everywhere. In USA, they are 78 lakh more than a man alone. You see, in every country. And we, especially when we open a war, this is a curse. You see, whether the young people and men, mostly men, are killed in a war, and then people left behind are the women. Their population increased definitely. So what to do with them? Because you have to make them, you have to provide them matches and also education and also jobs. If you are not doing that, then you are not productive country anymore. You see, you will go down. You see. So if you want to strong your country monetarily, so you economically, so you have to bring women up to equal level, at least up to equal level, right? Why can't we give a woman rights when they are 57% say, when 57% of the population, that is Egyptian, okay? Egypt's women are 57%, right? So that means 43% are men and children. Okay. So what? Why not? We should give them a priority. Why not? We should bring them forward so that they can contribute productively into their country and into their nation. Right. So we definitely we are doing it. We are doing it. But our society is that we in Pakistan there is a one person armed, only one person armed, and whole family rely on his income. You see, they eat and all these things on that. And he can you imagine? I myself has fed one wife and 4 children and their education and all these things, and I spent a lot of money. Still, my daughters are married. They have children up to age of 8 years and 9 years, and still they say, "Daddy, can you spare some money for us?" Okay, fine. How much? 10,000. Okay, fine. I'm sending that. So the responsibility never goes. See, it never goes. It's always with you. It's always with mother. It's always with father, and then every person on nation. See? So we have to think that we must educate them and properly bring them into the some profession where they can stand on their feet and they can do something for themselves, and they should not be rely and burden on men's income. So, but what happened that there is a fear on a men's side that you see our superiority will be loose if they will come up. You see, so says, but time with the passage of time, these things are getting old, and new generation is not adopting that. New generation is more liberal, and they are doing such things which we cannot imagine in our young age to do that. This is everywhere. Even Martina will accept that in Czechoslovakia, 50 years, 60 year back, 60-year back, young person have not a liberation like the young person or youth of today. You see, so there's the things changing. Sometimes they take in sequence, but I'm very much impressed by ICOM strategy. They are quickly getting it because of UNESCO or whatever it is, UNO or whatever it is. So policies or whatever it is, but ICOM is such a beautiful organization. They have said literally that no board should be no board should ignore equality. You see, gender. So we are taking care of that. You see, as this our Noran, she is a Egyptian national board member. So as Noran told us that there are 5 women in the board and 6 men. 6 men mean 1 president. Osama is a very nice person. So 1 president and then 5 women and 5 men. They're equal. So this is good. Similarly, in Pakistan board, we have following like that. And look at me. I have programs, but I have never said that it is merely for women. But most of the women are joining us, you see. And even some colleague says, though you take care of gender, what are you doing? I said, what I can do. I have not written anything that they cannot participate. Men cannot participate. I said, okay, I have given the equal right to them. And unfortunately, boys are busy somewhere else. So the girls, they feel it appropriate for them, and they are coming, joining us. So fine, we need youth. We need youth, and we need more female to train according to the proportion in the world. The proportion in the world is highest of female, see, at this moment. If somebody say no, you just give me a proof, okay? So it's like that. So we have to be caring. Anyways, ma'am, thank you very much indeed, because everybody must have been waiting to leave. So thank you very much, Martina. I'm so glad you are here and you have taken this stage, and we will give you some other chances too, if you accept it, because our this sessions are closing now. This was for in between time of 2 months when we could not do the regular thing. So in February, 9th February, there will be a first regular session of group 6. So we will just, you see, wind it up this huge things, or we will just maybe we have a 1 or 2 programs in a month, okay? So one of this seminar club, and the other one is the informal. So 2 in a month. So otherwise we will go back to our formal international virtual conference, museum conferences. So with this thing, I say thank you to Nagwa. And Nagwa, be in touch with us and be a family. Please, I request all of you. I know you all are very nice to join it, but this is the way we want you to interact with each other. If someone comes and read his speech and then go and never come back, so it's not no use, you see. You have to interact, make friends, you see, make up, you see. We don't want anything. We just wanted to bring you people on a stage where you people interact, okay? And if there is anything more we can do, we will do, right? Thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Moderator Sahiba.
Right. Thank you, Javed sir.
Thank you for that.
All right. So before we go through the closing remarks, I would like to request everybody to put their cameras on so that we can take a picture of today's session.
Meena, I think you have forgotten the Aditya's comment.
Sorry. Yeah, you were saying? Shivani, you were saying?
From Nagwa.
Yeah.
What was the question? Please, I would like to ask Aditya to be here.
Because, yeah, he's standing here.
Yeah.
Network connection is so poor.
It is okay. No worries. All right. Anyway, before we leave, I would like to thank Jangir Hussain. We are really sorry that you actually joined us a little bit late. So we are at the end of the program. So as I've already told you, I would like to request all the attendees to put their cameras on, before we bid goodbye. And I would like to go through the closing remarks. Well,
Thank you.
all right. I would like to congratulate. All right.
Jahangir.
Yeah.
Jahangir, yeah.
Yeah.
Fine, and how are you?
Thank you,
I'm
Jahangir.
sorry I
Thank you
was
for
in late. I was so busy with my official work. I
No,
tried
it's
to
all
join
right. It's
earlier.
all right. We are recording it. We will put on the YouTube so you can watch that again.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And how are
Jahangir is
you,
the ex-chair of Bangladesh. You see,
Yeah.
ex-chair ICOM Bangladesh.
Thank you
Jahangir.
very much for being
So
with us.
these are the people are very respectful for us because Roma, Jahangir, Dr. Dan, Dr. Suresh, Dr. Martina, and also many. They are running very good programs on their own.
Sure, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Javed. You arranged excellent program. I salute you and congratulate your team for arranging excellent program in every month. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for you cooperating. Really, your cooperation is means a lot for me. You see.
Thank you.
Yes, Bhagwa. What's wait? That's a camera. Oh, is the camera on? So say bye bye to everyone. Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to say
Mhm.
I just wanted to say something before leave.
Yes, please.
Yes, the last thing that I'm lucky because I'm part of this new generation of specialists in museology. And as an Egyptian woman, as the president of the Republic of Egypt, caring about Egyptian women, we are as a part of 2030 vision of Egyptian women empowerment and sustainable development. So all of the ministers in Egypt, not just the Ministry of Antiquities or Culture, caring about engage women in everything and empower women and to be part of sustainable development. Also, we are brave that the president launched the Year of Egyptian Women that encourage people to focus about women participation in everything in Egypt. So I'm very lucky to be part of this new generation and to have the chance to travel and to see another vision about women in other culture. And that encouraged me to apply in my thesis. Thank you for all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Nagwa. Also, I have to tell you congratulations to that I missed. So congratulations for on receiving your PhD degree. And
Eleonora, she is lying on sofa.
And also to Dr. Martina too. I would like to bid you all the best and all the best and luck so that you can have a very nice and smooth general conference Prague this year. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite you all.
Thank you so much.
Martina, we would like to cover your conference, okay?
Right.
We would like to cover your conference, okay? For this ICOM family forum, okay? Thank you.
Well, this is also kind of like, women supporting women, right? Like through the presentation, you as a chief guest, and then the speaker as a woman herself. Well, anyway, let me also extend my gratitude to all our attendees who actually spared their busy schedule and be with us and also share their questions with us. And with this, I would also like to tell you that the session is being recorded and the link will be made accessible in our messenger group shortly. Also, I would like to inform you that our next informal talk show is scheduled for 22nd January 2022 with Dr. Bamini Kamudu from Mauritius. So she is the science communicator in Mauritius and is invited as a guest speaker, the next. So with this closing remarks, I would like to formally conclude the program. Thank you so much and wish you all good day and good evening. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.